Senator, thanks for talking. I want to talk about Ebola, which of course is the big story for the country right now. You said the president has led us down a road and failed to show leadership. Specifically, what has he done or not done that you think has not shown leadership?
I think from the very beginning they haven't been completely forthright with us. They've so wanted to downplay this that they really, I don't think, have been very accurate in their description of the disease. For example, they say, don't worry, it's only mixture of bodily fluids through direct contact. So what are you thinking? I'm thinking like AIDS. You don't get AIDS at a cocktail party, so my level of alarm goes down, and if I'm treating somebody or looking at them around them, I'm thinking, oh no, it's like AIDS, I'm not going to get it. But it really isn't like AIDS. And then they'll say in a little lower voice, oh, but direct contact can be 3 feet from somebody. But if you ask any American on the street, do you think direct contact is standing 3 feet from somebody? I don't think that was, they just weren't, you know, because they so much wanted to downplay that we were in charge, we know everything about this, I think they made mistakes in not really being accurate about talking about the disease.
You used the phrase at least once, politically correct, to describe. What's that mean in the context of how they've dealt with it?
I'm not sure what it means, because I'm not sure who they're being politically correct to, other than that they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
But what made you use the phrase? What actions? Because
I think they're making, it's an irrational desire to be conventional and not to make you know, it's to stay sort of towards the middle of things without saying something that's bold that people might object to. And that's kind of political correctness in a way.
You're up here campaigning for Scott Brown, and you've done lots with other candidates. I know what you think Republicans have going for you. You said wind at your back earlier today. What do the Democrats have going for them in the midterms that are keeping some of these races closer than some suspected they would be?
Still, the biggest obstacle we have as Republicans is demographics. We need to do better with African Americans, Hispanics, Asian Americans.
And that's a factor in this election.
It's a factor in every election. In congressional races, not so much, because they're drawn, you know, for the races. In states and in national elections, the biggest obstacle Republicans have to being the dominant party, and I think we can win hands down on policy, because frankly things haven't gotten any better under the Democrats. There's still massive unemployment. Black unemployment's 2 times white unemployment. I think that we can win on the policy once we begin to break down the demographic barriers that really we haven't done a very good job with in the past.
All right, you're on the cover of Time magazine again, not for the first time. The line says, the most interesting man in politics. Now, does that mean you're more interesting than Dick Durbin and Lamar Alexander?
You know, they're really fascinating guys. So, yeah. Actually, I don't know how we got that. I don't know. How do we?
I don't know. So look at that picture. Like, if most people on the cover of Time think, do I look handsome? Do you look handsome there? Is that?
You know, I don't know. Without my glasses, I can't even tell that's Time.
Right. All right. So we were joking before about who's funniest in your family, and you said there's that Germanic blood. You're making a general statement about Germans and humor?
Yeah, you hate to criticize a whole ethnic group, but I'm part of it, so maybe it's okay. Germans are fastidious and hard workers, and they build things, you know. But the other half of my family is Welsh and English, and they one grandparents were really hardworking, and the other grandparents were maybe more, you know, joking around, singing songs, reciting poetry. So I mean, I got half of that, and then I got it diluted again. So I'm afraid I really don't have a career in stand-up.
I've heard you tell some jokes. You told some jokes today, the college kids out here, but your speech is a pretty serious, pretty intense speech. Is humor part of communicating in politics for you, or you think that's not necessary?
Yeah, I think a joke, if I can remember a joke or come up with a new joke, I usually like to start with a joke. I think humor is a great way of engaging people. In fact, our young people, I hate to break this to you, they don't watch any news channels.
Yeah, no, we're familiar with that.
Zero. My kids, if they want news or are going to get news, they will send me a YouTube clip of Jimmy Kimmel, Jon Stewart.
Right.
That's where they get their news, is from comedians. And so we need some more conservative comedians.
That's what it's going to take. So you're thinking of running for president. You've been nicely open about that, unlike some folks. You've seen it up close because your dad's running. You were out on the trail for him. What's hard about running for president?
You know, the travel is really can wear you down and wear you out. I think the fatigue on basically the family and all of that. And I think the breakdown between legitimate reporters and everybody else that's got a website has made it so hard that there's so many people asking questions, and many of them really, when I read a news report now that I'm involved with, I'm like, oh wow, that was did you see this, guys? It was an objective news report. Most stuff all over the internet is all opinion, and it sells on TV too.
And why does that make it harder for a candidate?
Well, it makes it harder because everywhere you go, it's you know, you're not getting questions from a reporter, you're getting questions from an editorialist.
Right.
And that makes it more difficult. And then you read scandal, everything becomes a scandalous headline,
right.
And most headlines don't even represent what's in the body of the material anymore.
So if you run, you're going to get asked lots of questions. You're a student of presidential history. You familiar with Roger Mudd's question to Ted Kennedy?
Yeah, why are you running?
Yes. Why do you want to be president? So I'm giving you a great chance.
Well, my brother was president, my dad was president,
Not the best. So here's your chance. Answer the Roger Mudd question. Assuming you did run, why would you want to be president?
Because I'm truly concerned about our country. I think an $18 trillion debt is truly a danger, not just to our kids and grandkids, but actually to our kids now trying to find jobs. And that I don't think that the demise of a country is always gradual. I think there is a possibility that you can have a panic where an economy unravels.
But why you?
2008. Why do I think I can do it? Because I think I can bridge a gap no other Republican has ever bridged, and that is a gap to attract constituencies that we haven't talked to in 80 years.
That helps you get elected, but why you to solve the problems as president?
Because I think I can work with both sides also. I'm a person who believes very, very strongly in some ideas, but it just turns out that some of those ideas I believe very strongly with progressives as well. I think also that I'm a big believer that we try to tackle too big of an issue in Washington. So if we had 100 people in a room, senators or otherwise, and we tried to agree on issues, if the legislation had 1,000 pieces to it, we'd never get anything done. If it had one piece to it, we might find 10, 20, 30 issues that we could just pass almost by consensus. We have those in Congress now, but the leadership is so malfunctional, and frankly, it's Democrat leadership, that we don't get anything passed. I have a bill that I co-sponsor with Harry Reid, and I can't get a vote on it.
Senator Paul, thanks. You're nice to your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.